The Sinister Autopsy Secret of Tim Maia exposed. 6 haunting testimonies from legal medics. In the dying town of Hollow Creek. Whispers filled the air like a dense fog, refusing to lift. Tim Maia, the local doctor whose experimental practices had raised eyebrows long before his sudden death, had left behind a legacy of fear and secrecy. Lisa, a weary single mother, stood at the center of this chaos, her heart pounding like a drum in a silent room. Just weeks after losing her brother, she found herself navigating a world where the mundane had turned sinister as the evening shadows grew longer. Lisa trembled in her cramped home, where each creak of the floorboards sent shivers down her spine. Lily, her 7-year-old daughter, had taken to drawing strange symbols on anything she could find: walls, tablecloths, and even her own arms. It was as if she were channeling long-forgotten spirits, summoning forces that should never have been disturbed. The sight of Lily meticulously tracing those eerie shapes gripped Lisa with a cold, unsettling dread, a feeling that something wicked lay just beneath the surface. The first sign of true terror had come just the previous night when the lights flickered, forcing Lisa to confront her worst fears alone. Shadows danced beyond the windows, twisting and writhing with a life of their own. Whispers scattered throughout the house like a haunting chorus, urging her to look closer, to uncover the truth that had been buried. Trying to make sense of it all, Lisa sought counsel from the neighborhood doctor, Dr. Sykes, a man she had known since childhood. But as she approached him, eyes wide with desperation, he only offered cryptic remarks and evasive glances, suggesting a darker past linking him to Tim, a past that left an acrid taste in her mouth. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension in Hollow Creek magnified, transforming familiar streets into ominous corridors filled with the echoes of Tim's name. Panic seeped into Lisa's veins as she recalled the stories told in hushed tones around town, stories of missing persons and unsettling incidents that seemed to tie back to Tim's work. Huddled in the corner of an old storage shed, she unearthed Tim's hidden belongings and found a compartment filled with disturbing autopsy records. Heart racing, she sifted through the papers, each one more grotesque than the last. They painted a chilling picture of a man who had tortured the lines between life and death. Visions of her children being swept away into darkness surged through her mind. Clutching her thoughts with icy fingers, panic gripped her as she shut the compartment, darkness descending around her. The house felt like a living, breathing entity, suffocating and bloated with secrets. Each night, she heard the whispers growing louder. Each morning, her children became distant, their eyes shadowed with terror. The something that Tim had reached out to was beckoning him back, and it was now reaching for Lisa. The stakes felt impossibly high, and with every new discovery, every ghostly visitation, her resolve hardened. But what truly shook her to the core was one significant record that hinted at a blood price, a pact forged with forces older than the town itself. Shadows creeped into her home, carrying the dreadful weight of family legacy and impending doom. As night fell and the house closed in, Lisa trembled with the raging doubt. Could she escape the very blood that bound her family to a horrific fate? The walls whispered her name, wrapping her in their conspiracy, while the darkness thickened. Like fog, offering no solace, only more questions that begged to be answered. Night fell heavily over Hollow Creek, drowning the town in an oppressive darkness that felt alive. Lisa sat on the edge of her bed, her mind spinning with fear and uncertainty. The only sound was Lily's soft, rhythmic breathing as she slept, oblivious to the storm brewing in her mother's heart. Lisa had to protect her, but the enormity of the twisted legacy left by Tim hung thick in the air, a noxious miasma that threatened to consume them. Outside, the wind howled like a tortured soul, rattling the windows and causing Lisa's heart to race. Each gust felt like a warning, a reminder that she was not alone in this haunted house. The journal she found among Tim's belongings burned in her thoughts, its pages inscribed with words that felt like chains around her ankles. Price of blood, families, cursed whispers of the dead. What did it all mean? Her instincts screamed at her to leave. The oppressive weight of the house was unbearable. But where could she go? Lily needed stability, not chaos. As dawn crept slowly over the horizon, Lisa's mind raced through every possible solution while the whispers in her home grew louder, a cacophony of warning and dread. Determined to find answers, she ventured into the sun, the morning light spilling into the cursed corners of her mind. Her first stop was to find Dr. Sykes again. Maybe she could pry the truth from him, force him to confront the darkness he had shared with Tim. But as she approached his office, she felt unease rip through her stomach. The door creaked open, and the familiar scent of antiseptic mixed with something else, something rotten, washed over her. Dr. Sykes sat behind his desk, staring blankly at a wall. His once warm gaze now bore a chilling vacancy, dark rings under his eyes like deep wells of despair. When he finally looked at her, his expression held an unmistakable fear, as if he could sense the shadows lurking behind her. Lisa, he hesitated, his voice a whisper. You shouldn't be here. What do you know about Tim? She demanded, nervously glancing around the dim room. What did he do? What did he take? His hands shook slightly, and for a painful moment, it seemed he might share the truth. But then silence encased them. The weighted stillness was punctured by a commotion outside. Startled, they turned as a dull thud echoed through the office, followed by frantic shouting. What's happening? Lisa asked, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. Something's wrong, it's happening again, Dr. Sykes murmured, the color draining from his face. Before she could question him further, the door burst open. A neighbor, wild-eyed and gasping, rushed in, his breath hitching as if he were being chased. Lisa, you have to come. It's Lily, something happened. Lisa's heart plummeted. What do you mean? Where is she? As the terror settled into her bones, she raced past the men and out into the chaotic streets of Hollow Creek. People gathered in a huddle near the playground, pointing, gasping. Lisa's pulse raced as she pushed through the crowd, dread radiating through her as she made her way to an open patch of grass. Her heart dropped as she saw her daughter standing alone, surrounded by drawings scattered across the turf, symbols larger and more intricate than those she had seen before. Dark tendrils of fog snaked around Lily's feet, and her eyes glowed with an unsettling light, as if the very essence of Hollow Creek was reaching for her. Lily! Lisa screamed, her voice cracking with desperation. But as she rushed towards her child, time seemed to stretch impossibly. The air thickened with a sinister energy, and the muted whispers of the town converged into a haunting chorus. Lisa felt the pull of the past snaking around her, binding her to a fate she couldn't comprehend. With dread intertwining with her motherly instincts, Lisa's resolve faltered. The blood price was not just a specter of Tim's legacy, it was alive and beckoning. And if she didn't run now, it would consume them all. What price would Lisa pay to save her daughter? As she reached out for Lily, she felt someone grasp her wrist, pulling her back into darkness. Leave her, she shouted, panic coursing through her veins. But would she ever escape the malevolent grasp of Hollow Creek? Lisa's heart raced, her breath caught in her throat as she struggled against the grip on her wrist. Shadows twisted around her like fingers, tightening their hold. The chaos of the crowd faded, replaced by a haunting silence that hummed beneath the surface, urging her to flee. Yet she couldn't just abandon Lily, not now. No, let me go, she screamed, yanking hard against the unseen force that yanked her backward. Panic clawed at her, each heartbeat a desperate reminder of what was at stake. Lisa, the frantic voice of Dr. Sykes pulled her attention. He bounded forward, pushing through the crowd with an urgency that sent a chill down her spine. His eyes darted from Lisa to Lily with a mix of horror and realization. They're back, all of them, they come for her, he gasped, sounding as if he'd seen the ghosts of Hollow Creek himself. Lisa turned, her eyes wide with fear. In that fleeting moment, she managed to glimpse Lily again. The haunting glow in her daughter's eyes flickered, dimming slightly as if she were fighting something malevolent that had taken hold. The symbols sprawled on the grass seemed to pulse with life, and dark wisps of fog flowed around them, whispering sweetly and menacingly. "Lily," Lisa called again, her voice trembling. "Please, come back to me." Suddenly, the grip on her wrist released. She stumbled, grasping for balance as the icy tendrils receded. But the reprieve was brief. A wave of darkness surged from the playground, rippling outward like a sinister tide, pulling with it both fear and a sense of ancient malice that seeped deep into the bones of everyone present. Dr. Sykes moved closer, his ashen face taut with fear. "Whatever this is, it's connected to Tim. We need to." His sentence trailed off as he caught sight of the symbols on the ground, a visible shudder running through him. "Tim? What did he do to her?" Lisa demanded. She felt raw, the seams of her sanity stretched almost ready to burst. "Those drawings, they're not just symbols. They're ancient runes related to a curse of binding," he stammered, glancing back at Lily, who looked almost entranced. "If she completes this, it could what?" Lisa's voice came out sharper than she intended. The stakes felt impossibly high, and she couldn't let fear paralyze her. He believed the curse could be transferred through blood through family. Dr. Sykes whispered, horror etched deep in his expression. His voice dropped further, words barely making it past trembling lips. He wrote about it obsessively in his journals. It's why he did those things, and if Lily is part of it. The words hung in the air like smoke, acrid and suffocating. Lisa's mind raced, unable to comprehend the implications. Her daughter was connected to this malevolence not just through Tim but through something deeper, something inherited. Without warning, a shriek echoed from the playground, shattering the tense atmosphere. A man stumbled backward, his face twisted in panic, eyes wide in terror as he pointed frantically toward Lily. "She's calling them. She's calling the dead." Lisa's blood ran cold. "No." With a single, desperate movement, she surged forward, compelled by a heart filled with dread and love. She refused to submit, not to Tim's legacy or to whatever darkness hellbent on consuming her family. As she reached Lily, the ground beneath them shook, and the air thickened with sorrowful wails. The dead rose from their hidden graves, drawn to the living, to the child who unknowingly summoned them. "Stop!" Lisa screamed, stretching her arms towards her daughter. But a thick fog enveloped them, rendering her vision meaningless. When the fog finally cleared, Lisa found herself in a different world, one where the past and present collided violently. Ethereal shapes flickered at the edges of her vision, sorrowful faces of those lost, those taken by the town's curse. "Help her!" Dr. Sykes yelled from afar, but his voice felt as if it were coming from another realm. The nightmare had begun, and Lisa understood what she had to do. What price would she have to pay to reclaim her daughter? As shadows twisted around her, Lisa braced for the confrontation to come. But in the back of her mind, a question lingered, colder than the fog itself. How do you fight a legacy written in blood? The fog thickened, wrapping around Lisa tightly, squeezing the breath from her lungs. She gasped, the world shifting in dizzying waves. The ethereal shapes morphed into a swirling tempest of lost souls, their hollow eyes staring through her, begging for release. They whispered her name, their voices melding into a haunting chorus that clawed at her sanity. "Lily!" Lisa cried, pushing through the darkness, stretching her hand toward the flickering image of her daughter. "We have to get out of here. You need to come back." But Lily didn't respond. Her small frame stood rooted in place, eyes wide and glinting with an otherworldly glow, almost losing their warmth. She seemed entranced, as if waiting for something or someone. "Please," Lisa's voice trembled, each plea a dagger of desperation piercing the suffocating air. The cold touch of the fog sent shivers skittering down her spine. She felt the weight of 1,000 watching eyes, the unseen souls drawn to the bond between mother and child, a bond now corrupted. "Lily!" Lisa urged again, but the darkness pulsed with life, wrapping itself protectively around Lily, cocooning her in ancient power. Each heartbeat echoed the chanting of the Forsaken, thumping louder and more insistent, Thrumming in Lisa's ears, an icy wind swept through the space, snatching the air from her lungs. A figure emerged from the haze. It loomed tall and shadowy, shifting like smoke. Tim. Lisa's heart plummeted. She had seen the photos of him, the tortured expressions etched on his face during the last days he roamed the living. But this was different. This wasn't just a memory. It was a manifestation, alive with malevolence. Mother. The figure's voice dripped with familiarity yet twisted in a way that set her nerves on fire. You were never meant to let her go. She belongs to me, our family. She has the key. No. Lisa screamed, the word tearing from her throat like a desperate shout in the dark. She dug her heels into the ground, fighting against the grip of the fog clawing at her, wrapping her in a chilling embrace. Release her. Dr. Sykes' voice cut through the chaos, frantic and raw. He appeared at her side, his face pale under the spectral light spilling from the symbols sprawled on the ground. He reached for her, fingers trembling. We have to break the connection. It's the only way. But Tim laughed, a sound that chilled the marrow in Lisa's bones. You think you can stop this? I gave her the gift. With her, I can finish what I started. We are bound by blood. You're wrong. Lisa shot back, determination igniting within her. I won't let you take her away from me. The fog roiled, the spirits growling, their cries now more urgent. They reached out, hands clawing at Lisa, desperate to hold the bond, desperate for freedom. In that moment she understood. They were tethered by the curse. The more desperate she became, the stronger it grew. Fight it, Lily, she yelled, channeling every ounce of love she had into her daughter's name. Remember who you are. You are my light. You're not his. The ghostly figure of Tim twisted, his face a grimace of rage and despair. Light flickered between them like a fading pulse, and Lisa felt her energy draining, the very essence of her spirit challenging the dark. I will have you, Tim hissed, his gaze shifting toward Lily. The shadows clawed closer around her, surrounding her in a shroud of darkness, and Lisa felt a sickening dread twist in her gut. Lily, she cried one last time, her heart racing, echoing the urgency of her plea. Yet something sinister began to crack through the air, a subtle thrum that felt like the beating of ancient hearts. Echoing across time with a sudden clarity, the fog began to part. Lily blinked, her expression flickering through confusion and fear, as she took a tentative step forward, caught between the darkness and her mother's unyielding love. Mom? She whispered, the glow in her eyes dimming as she turned toward Lisa. But just then, the ground quaked violently, splintering beneath them, revealing deeper shadows brimming with vengeance. The haunting. Whispers escalated into a cacophony, an unholy chorus demanding retribution for the broken vow of a family. The moment hung in the air, a fragile thread balancing hope and despair. What would happen if Lily answered the call of her bloodline? Would love be enough to shatter the curse? Or would they be swallowed whole by the darkness? And as the world around them crashed down, one thing was insufferably clear. Time was running out. The ground trembled, fissures snaking through the earth and sending ripples of panic through Lisa's body. She clutched at the crumbling soil, her fingers digging for purchase. The fog thickened again, swirling with a malevolent life of its own, and more whispers surged around her. These were not just lost souls. They were the damned, their cries a chilling symphony of torment. Mom! Lily's voice broke through the chaos, but it was faint, hollow, as if rebounding off the walls of an unseen cavern. Help me! Lisa's heart raced. It was like a drum pounding in her ears, drowning out the whispers and the laughter echoing from Tim's twisted form. She saw hints of Lily's warmth flickering, struggling against the cold shackles of darkness that pulled her back into the depths. Lily, please! Lisa shouted, her voice breaking with desperation. You have to fight it. Remember the light. Remember us. But the darkness seemed to pulse in response, thickening around Lily like a shroud, thick as the fog itself. Tim's form shifted closer, his features twisting into an expression that was both familiar and grotesque. Dust to dust, look where you led her, he mocked, his voice dripping with a sickening sweetness that made Lisa's skin crawl. You can't save her. We are one, linked through generations. She is meant for this. Dr. Sykes gripped Lisa's shoulder, his nails biting into her skin as he leaned close. We need to use the symbols. They are the key. We need to redirect the energy. His gaze flickered to the glyphs painted in blood and ash, their dark lines glowing ominously beneath the fog. Now, we can't waste any more time. Lisa's mind raced, her heart pounding like a war drum. The words felt insufficient, echoing futilely against the darkness. She spied the pulsing symbols and gathered her strength, willing her voice to rise above the chaos. Listen to me. In that moment, the fog parted just enough for the dim light to catch Lily's desperate expression. The spark of recognition flickered as if an ember struggling against a storm. Mom, I fight it. Lily, find your strength. Tim's presence loomed larger, his laughter reverberating through the air, drowning out her words, drowning out Lily's light. You think mere words can save her? You have no idea what you're up against. A blast of cold rushed through Lisa, knocking her back as shadows raced toward Lily, threatening to engulf her completely. For a heartbeat, the space warped into a twisted landscape. The shadows twisted into grotesque shapes, revealing the faces of lost souls, mirroring the final moments of their lives' screams and anguished faces, their frozen cries clawing at Lisa's sanity. No, she screamed as fear coiled in her gut. Everything inside her screamed to run, to escape this nightmare. But she couldn't. Not while Lily was still trapped. Dr. Sykes pulled her closer. We must channel it. Focus your love, let it flow through the symbols. He gestured frantically to the glowing inscriptions. Lily's energy can break this. We have to act now. Lisa nodded, tears streaming down her face, as she turned back to Lily. You have power. My love, you are more than this darkness. You are stronger than him. Lily's eyes flickered with uncertainty, shadows creeping at the corners of her soul. I don't want to leave you. With renewed strength, Lisa stepped boldly into the heart of the shadows, surrendering to the tide that threatened to pull her under. You are not alone. We are together in this. We can break the cycle. The fog churned violently, as if caught in some cosmic battle between light and dark. Lisa could feel the tendrils of the past reaching out, clawing at her mind, but she pushed back, concentrating on the symbols, urging Lily to remember. The ground shook with a colossal roar, and shadows lashed out, but Lisa stood firm, her heart aflame with love and determination. The darkness twisted, thrumming with unearthly anger, revealing fleeting glimpses of Tim, still laughing, still trying to pull Lily into the void. Would their love be enough to shatter the curse? Or were they simply prolonging the inevitable? As the world twisted and turned, a new terror loomed. The ground was crumbling beneath them, and time was slipping away in the tumult of shadows and whispers. And then amidst the chaos, Lisa saw the symbols begin to glow brighter, pulsating to the rhythmic beat of her heart. But a violent shudder gripped the earth, and she dreaded what might come next. What awaited them in this fray of light and darkness? Would hope ignite a path to freedom, or would they be consumed by the shadows of their past? The symbols flared with an intense white light, illuminating Lisa's surroundings in a spectral glow. Shadows danced wildly, their anguished forms shifting and twisting, almost as if they were indecisively pulling away or diving deeper into the dark. Lily's cry echoed faintly, and the whispers surged, maddening and relentless. Fight them, Lily. Just a little longer. Lisa shouted, squeezing her eyes shut, willing herself to connect with the glowing symbols. She could feel her strength waning, but there was still a thread of hope weaving through the darkness. The presence of Tim was like a suffocating weight, pressing down on the moment, breaking apart the light they fought to maintain. You're wasting your time, he jeered, stepping forward, the fog swirling hungrily at his feet. You think you can save her? She belongs to this now, to us. Lisa's heart raced, her breath quickening as dread coiled around her throat. The darkness yawned wider, its depth unfathomable. No, she's mine, she's our light. Dr. Sykes shouted something she couldn't catch, but she felt an urgency in his movements. The cymbals blared blindingly, casting flickering figures that almost resembled faces. Unshed tears blurred her sight, but she focused, pulling up memories of laughter, warmth, and the love that had ignited their bond. Remember the good times, Lily. Remember us playing in the sun. Remember love. For a brief moment, she saw a flicker of recognition in Lily's eyes, a spark breaking through the veil of despair. Mom, I will fight. I love you. Tim's face twisted into a grotesque snarl. All love can do is bind you to her fate. He roared, but the shadows momentarily stepped back, as if recoiling from the light of Lisa's love. Now, Dr. Sykes urged, his voice strained. Channel that energy. The symbols need its now or never. An explosion of light erupted from the symbols, shattering the oppressive darkness momentarily, revealing the writhing shadows for what they were. Twisted echoes of grief and betrayal. You're nothing. Lisa screamed into the void. You have no power here. As the light swelled, the shadows convulsed, thrashing violently against the luminous beam. Lisa could see lost souls, their faces a mixture of sorrow and rage, spiraling toward the core of darkness that held Lily. You'll never have her. Join us, they wailed, voices rising to a tortured pitch. You will be one with the despair. It is your fate. But the grip of darkness began to falter, and in that instant, a piercing shriek erupted from Tim's twisted mouth. No! The shadows recoiled further, his form flickering erratically like an outdated film reel. The symbols blazed hotter, forcing the darkness to unravel, revealing glimpses of Tim's past. A childhood filled with pain, shadows creeping into his heart, rippling out like a curse over generations as the horror of his past clawed forth. Lisa glimpsed a horrifying truth that made her stomach churn. Tim wasn't just the monster. He was a prisoner too, shackled to the anguish he spread. Mom, I see it. I can break free. Lily's voice surged with renewed power. The light engulfed them, blinding and pure, washing away Tim's laughter, washing away the shadows. Yet, with a deafening crack, the ground split wider, and Lisa felt the earth trembling beneath her feet. In the chaos, the air grew thick with the stench of rot, and terror gripped her heart once more. As the light flickered dangerously, balancing on the cusp of consuming the darkness and losing everything, Lisa screamed out one last, desperate plea. You must fight harder, Lily. Now. But as she looked to where Lily stood, a shadow crawled back, wrapping around her daughter's form. Those eyes that had flickered with love now dimmed, struggling under a new weight, a forgotten fate clawing its way back. Would Lily reclaim her light, or would she fall deeper into the churning abyss? The ground crumbled beneath them, and Lisa felt herself slipping into that very darkness they fought to escape. In that moment, hesitation gripped her. Tethered by a treacherous choice, sacrifice herself for Lily, or risk losing everything. What darkness awaited them if they failed to reclaim the light? Time was running out, and the final showdown loomed closer. The ground continued to quake beneath Lisa's feet, the world around her swirling in a chaotic tempest of light and dark. She felt the pull of despair dragging her down, tugging at her soul, threatening to erase the spark of hope she had lit for Lily. The shadows twisted tighter around Lily, trying to snuff out that precious flicker of light, her connection to Lisa. Fight it, honey. Fight it. Lisa shouted, her voice teetering on the edge of panic. She could see that Lily was struggling, her small form caught in a battle against the creeping darkness. Lisa's heart raced as dread surged again, almost overwhelming. But Lily's voice, though faint, broke through the deafening dark. I can't, it's too strong, she cried, her expression morphing from determination to sorrow. The shadows wrapped around her tightly, transforming her cries into anguished whispers that echoed through the chaos. Lisa's breath quickened. She couldn't lose her daughter to this nightmare. The flickering symbols glowed brighter, pulsating in rhythm with her heartbeat. She needed to keep that light alive. Remember when we danced in the rain? Lily? Feel that joy. Focus on me. On us. Mom. Lily gasped, the shadows pushing against her, clawing to snatch her into their depth. Tim let out a guttural laugh, twisting and writhing, feeding off their despair. Love? Ha! What has that ever done? It binds you. It chains you to the darkness like all the others. The shadows writhed violently at Tim's command, spiraling faster when he laughed, the sound cutting through whatever hope remained. Lisa felt a cold dread seep into her bones. No, you're lying. Love is a weapon. Holding on to her memories, Lisa channeled everything she cherished into the symbols. It was her only chance to save Lily. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shuddered violently, cracks radiating outwards. A shadow broke from the earth, a monstrous extension of Tim's dark power. You will pay for your defiance. It roared, lunging toward Lisa, hungry for her resolve. She sidestepped just in time, the shadow zipping past her, where it collided with a nearby tree, uprooting it in an explosion of splinters and darkness. The moment sent an overwhelming wave of dread through her, but it also lit a fiery determination within her. Lily, she screamed, focusing all her strength, desperate to extract her daughter from the clutches of despair. Draw on our bond. Reclaim your light. Fight with everything you have. An eerie silence blanketed the area, followed by a pulse, a heartbeat. It surged through the crackling air, the symbols flaring in response. Lily's eyes flickered, a glimmer igniting as she summoned every ounce of her spirit. I love you, Mom. I won't give up. The shadows shrieked, a cacophony of tortured voices rising in furious harmony, clawing at them, plunging deeper into their own despair. In that moment, Lisa realized something, a terrifying truth about Tim, woven into every scream of the shadows. This wasn't just a battle for Lily. It was a fight for Tim's own redemption, whether he realized it or not. Your pain doesn't own you, Lisa yelled, the symbols vibrating in strength. You can break free. Tim, you can choose another path. For a heartbeat, the shadows hesitated, flickering as if caught between realms. It was a moment of potential, a moment of terror too, for if Tim chose to cling to the darkness, the consequences would be devastating. But Lisa's muscles trembled, and in that instant, she felt a chill creep up her spine. She turned to Lily just as those dark tendrils lunged forward, coiling around both of them. Mom! Lily screamed, terror gripping her voice. In that moment of crisis, Lisa faced the terrible choice: to push forward and risk losing her life, or to pull Lily into the abyss, sealing both of their fates. No, she roared, clenching her fists, forcing every ounce of love into the bindings of the symbols, feeding power into the light. We will not be shattered. As the shadows writhed and surged, a horrifying realization settled into the pit of her stomach. They were running out of time. Would the light be enough? What unnatural monstrosity would they unleash if Tim finally surrendered to the shadows? The ground quaked more violently, propelling them all toward an unknown fate, teetering on the brink of darkness. The world exploded into a frenzy of darkness and bellowing cries as Lisa hurled every ounce of love towards the symbols. Each pulse felt like a burning flare, cutting through the enveloping shadows. Keep fighting, Lily, she urged, her voice slicing through the clamor. With every passing moment, the darkness pressed in harder, squeezing the hope out of her chest until her breath became short and stuttering. But Lily's face flickered again, hope anchored in fear. Mom, I can feel something. It's like a barrier. Hold it. Keep it alive. Lisa shouted, the words tumbling from her lips like desperate prayers. As they battled against the encroaching gloom, the monstrous shadow that had lunged for Lisa writhed back, shifting shape, uncertain, suddenly its dark tendrils coiling in uncertainty. The creature hesitated, seeming to shrink away from the burgeoning light. Tim's laughter echoed ceaselessly around them, reverberating through the trembling air. Is this the best you can do? This pathetic brightness? You think you can replace the darkness? In that moment, Lisa's heart raced faster than ever. What if the love they shared would not be enough? The last shred of her confidence collided with a terrifying revelation: the shadow could be more than just a manifestation of Tim's despair. It could be a remnant of a twisted truth they hadn't fully understood yet. Lily, think about everything. The laughter, Every hug. The times we stayed up late watching stars while sharing ice cream. Mom! Lily's voice broke, torn between light and dark. They're telling me things, horrible things. The shadows shrieked in response, and surrounding them, countless forms of anguish and despair began to appear, phantoms of lost moments and unspoken fears. Without warning, each ghostly face twisted into a mocking smile, sharing their pain, feeding off of the darkness like reluctant companions. Lisa gritted her teeth against the gnawing dread. The shadows were toying with her, revealing her deepest nightmares. The faces of loved ones lost, flickering in and out like ghosts, whispering their regrets and fears into her heart. No, she screamed through gritted teeth. You will not take us. We are stronger than you. The symbols ignited with blinding brilliance, momentarily silencing the cacophony. But then it happened to flicker, a spark, a dark flicker of recognition in Tim's eyes. You think you can resist forever? This cycle can't be broken. You'll join them, too. The earth shook again, the fissures deepening. Shadows burst forth from the cracks, crawling and pulling at Lisa's ankles, dragging her down into the abyss. Mom! Help me! Lily shrieked, struggling against the clamp of shadows. They're coming. There was no time for doubt, but Lisa felt it all slamming into her. Tim stood at the center, the source of this madness. Yet here he was, a broken version of the man she once knew. The love she had been trying to wield now felt thin and distant, consumed by looming shadow. Tim, listen. You don't have to succumb to this. We can save you. We can save each other. But Tim's face twisted again, discarded remnants of humanity vanishing behind a mask of displeasure and anger. You're too late. This is what I am. The shadows howled in response. A wall of darkness surged toward them, and Lisa could see it, the horrific form of something hidden, something more than just Tim's darkness. It was a creature born of pain, an entity fed by despair. Lisa's heart hammered in her chest. Was it too late? Could she unravel all that had been unleashed? Fight! She cried, each word a spur to her heart. But as the darkness lunged forward, she realized they were not just fighting for their lives, but for Tim's very soul. If they failed, what would they unleash upon the world? The shadows enveloped Lily, closing in fast. No! The ground tore open fiercely, a sweeping void threatening to swallow everything whole. And then the realization hit Lisa. Deep and horrifying, would she have to destroy Tim to save Lily? Or could they entwine their light around his darkness long enough to bring him back? The shadows surged, the invisible weight heavy as terror loomed on the edge of a decision. Would she be able to fight and win without sacrificing the only thing left that anchored her to the light? Time was slipping away, and with it, the fading hope of Lily's laughter. Lily's screams echoed like a haunting chorus, ricocheting off the walls of darkness. The shadows clawed at her, cold and clammy, as Lisa fought to stay upright against the storm of despair. Every heartbeat threatened to drown them both. Hold on, Lily. Just a little longer. Lisa gasped, pulling against the darkness, feeling its icy grip trying to burrow deeper. The shrieks of the shadows became a cacophony of despair. No. They won't let go. Lily's voice trembled, filled with terror. She was losing her battle against the darkness, limbs thrashing in a futile attempt to break free. A memory surged in Lisa's mind, Tim's kindness, that glimmer of warmth that had once anchored their family amidst a storm. Had all that love been real, or just another deception? Tim, please, come back, Lisa shrieked, her voice rising above the sinister whispers. Fight. Remember who you are, remember us. A crackle of energy pulsed through the symbols as if caught by her desperate plea, illuminating the abyss for a fleeting second. But then the darkness roared back, thick and suffocating. Tim is gone. A voice emerged from the shadows, deep and guttural, resonating with malice. You're clinging to a wisp, a ghost. There's nothing left but anguish. With a sudden burst of strength, Lisa surged forward, bursting into the heart of the shadows. No, you will not take my daughter. But the darkness was relentless. It surged, boiling over like molten tar, wrapping tighter around Lily, slick and inescapable. Lisa could feel her heart shattering. Could she really stand against this madness? The symbols shuddered, flickering like candles before a storm. "Mom, I don't want to. I know. Just believe in me. Believe in us." In that moment of desperation, Lisa felt something shift. A muted light flickered to life, deep within the shadows swirling around Tim's silhouette. For the briefest of instants, the tendrils parted. Lisa saw beneath the darkness Tim's eyes, dulled yet glimmering with knowledge. The malignant spirit inside him shook with rage, but Tim blinked, momentarily breaking through. "Lisa, no. Help me. Fight it." Lisa screamed, her voice cracking. "You don't have to let it win." Grinding against the weight of despair, Lisa poured every ounce of her being into the light, a fountain of love erupting from a well of memories. The laughter, the happy moments, their triumphs, and failures, all of it surged toward him. But the shadows gnashed their teeth, rallying, throwing everything they had against her. "Your love is weak," they hissed. "Tim belongs to us now." The reality of her words crashed over her. What if she was wrong? What if love was not enough? What if saving Tim meant losing Lily? The anguished cries mixed with laughter. The shadows were mocking her, a parade of lost souls calling from their hell. Lily writhed, a terrified expression flooding her face. "Mom, I can't hold them. Please. They're dragging me down. Hold on." In that moment of unbearable tension, Lisa saw a vision. A ghostly scene of themselves, an echo of happiness. "Fight with me, Lily. We are the light. We are stronger together." In the eye of chaos, just as the shadows lunged to consume them both, Lisa closed her eyes, focusing on the symbol that glowed fiercely under her skin. But then, just as hope began to swell, a sudden snap rang through the air. Tim's mouth twisted into a grin, dark and menacing. "You think you can save him? You'll pay for your defiance." Lisa's heart plummeted. The shadow's confidence ignited her fears. "Mom?" Lily whimpered, a sound so raw it cut through the murmur of darkness. And before Lisa could respond, a chasm appeared beneath her, fissures of reality splitting, ready to engulf them. "No!" The anguished cry erupted from her throat. Just as she reached for Lily, the darkness surged as Tim stepped closer, engulfed in shadows. Yet something flickered within, a struggle unseen. Could they truly save him? Or would the darkness claim them all? As Lisa grasped Lily's hand, time felt suspended, each second pulling tighter than the last. Would her love be enough to pull them back from the edge? Or was this the moment they would all fall into despair? With a lurch, reality threatened to tear apart, and they waited, breathless, for the darkness to claim its due. The ground trembled violently as shadows swirled around them, howling with rage and despair. Lisa's grip on Lily tightened, her heart racing with a raw, primal fear. The darkness had grown bolder, wrapping around her daughter, arms of black mist tugging and pulling at her as if it sought to drag her away and consume her spirit forever. "Listen to me, Lily," Lisa shouted, desperation flooding her words. "You are so much stronger than this. You are my daughter. Fight it." The symbols glowed fiercely beneath their feet, pulsating with an energy that melded with Lisa's heartbeats, urging her to be the beacon of hope her daughter needed. For a fleeting instant, Lily's eyes brightened, flickering as if the embers of recognition were sparked within her. "Mom, I remember," she gasped, trembling against the encroaching tendrils of darkness. But suddenly, a bone-chilling laugh erupted from the shadowy figure of Tim. His visage morphed into an abomination of the man she once knew. "You think you can save her?" His voice slithered through the air, taunting them. "She was made for this just like I was. Our blood is bound to this curse." "No!" Lisa screamed, the word tearing through her throat like a jagged blade. "You're wrong. Love is stronger than this curse. You don't have to accept it. You can fight." But as she spoke, the darkness surged in response, coiling tighter around Lily, pulling her closer into the void. Each breath Lisa took felt like a battle, but she couldn't let despair consume her. Not while there was still a glimmer of hope. "Tim, you may be lost, but you can still choose," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. Remember who you were. Remember the love we had. Tim's ghostly figure stiffened at her words, his shadowy body wavering. For a moment, hurt flickered across his spectral features, a shadow of the man she once loved. Lisa, he whispered, confusion saturating his voice as if he were being torn in two. Fight it, Tim. You don't have to surrender to the darkness. Lisa urged, willing every ounce of love and memory she had into her words, calling forth echoes of laughter, warmth, and family trips to the lake. Beyond them, the ground cracked wider, violent tremors rattling against their bodies. The shadows wailed, their anguished cries drowning out every flicker of light that dared to challenge them. But with every ounce of love Lisa shared, the symbols began to glow brighter, illuminating the dark tendrils wrapping around Lily. Mom, I want to break free. Lily cried, determination cutting through the fear. I can feel it, I can fight. Help me. Yes. You can do this, Lily. The words poured from Lisa's soul, igniting the very air around them. Just remember what we have. Remember our love. With a surge of strength, Lily pushed back against the shadows, illuminating flickers of golden light amidst the blackened tendrils. It was just enough, a light of hope sparking into life, brighter and bolder than the darkness dared to confront. The air shimmered, crackling with energy as the symbols grew more fierce, pulsating as they intertwined with Lisa's love and Lily's will. A chorus of lost souls emerged from the shadows, their voices rising in harmony with Lisa and Lily, fighting against Tim's twisted power. Through the chaos, Lisa realized that it wasn't just her love binding them. It was Lily's spirit igniting in response to the darkness that threatened to consume them. The symbols flared, cascading beams of light erupting across the trembling earth, banishing shadows inch by inch. Be free, Tim, Lisa cried, her voice rising above the tumult. Find your way back. We're right here. We're waiting for you. And there it was, a flicker of humanity behind Tim's sorrowful gaze. The shadows howled in defiance, pulling at him, but the light began pulling back as well. No, you are not strong enough, they shrieked, the voices twisting into a cacophony of fury. But Tim was wavering, his form flickering back and forth between horror and a desperate recognition of love. Lisa, he whispered, voice trembling. Fight for us, Lisa urged, knowing she would shatter. Without him, that their family had to reclaim that bond against the encroaching dread. With a roar, the figures of the shadows surged one last time, and Lisa felt herself being pulled into the void along with her daughter. Yet, she braced herself, channeling every ounce of love into the light, until finally, with an ear-splitting scream, the bonds of darkness burst apart. Just as the shadows began to falter, Lily stepped forward, her radiant light breaking through the fog surrounding them. I am not a prisoner. I choose love, she yelled, her voice ringing clear and strong. The shadows recoiled, howls of defeat echoing through the air. Lisa's heart soared as she saw Tim hesitating at the edge of the darkness, bracing himself against its weight. In one final act of defiance, Lisa extended her hand towards Tim, urging him to step into the light. He hesitated, the shadows fighting with everything they had, but then he took a step forward. I choose my family. Tim's voice rang out, shattering the fear. The light surged, fracturing the darkness as she and Lily stood together, hearts united against the darkness. In an explosion of brilliant light, the shadows dissipated like a dark mist blown away by a sudden breeze. Lisa felt the weight lift from her chest as the laughter began to echo among them, a laughter warm with memories and love. A sound that flooded the street, filling Hollow Creek with hope. Tim blinked, his eyes finally clearing as his shadowy figure began to shift back into the warmth of the man Lisa once loved. I'm back, he whispered, tears rolling down his cheeks. And as they embraced, Lisa felt the weight of an unbreakable bond return. The sun broke over Hollow Creek, illuminating the path ahead. Gone was the despair, lost was the curse, replaced by a newfound resilience. Hollow Creek, once filled with whispers of darkness, pulsed with the light of love, freshly reclaimed. Together, they stepped into the sun, hand in hand, a family reborn. And they would always remember, Love is worth fighting for, no matter the darkness. Now, if you want to keep diving deep into more gripping stories just like this one, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button, so we can keep spreading these tales that tug at your heart. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and reactions. What do you think will happen next? And for the sake of those who love a good story, don't wait even one more second to share this adventure with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support matters.